Every year we add on new habits, hoping that we'll become better versions of ourselves. But the reality of it is, most of them don't stick. And it's not because we're lazy, it's not because we lack discipline. It goes a little deeper than that. And there actually is one habit that can change the way that we parent. And it actually changes the way we lead in general. And funny enough, it has nothing to do with productivity. And this is what we're going to talk about today. For those who don't know me, my name is Danielle C Baker. I am the founder and CBO of Being Connected. And I'm also a registered early childhood educator with over 20 years experience in the field. I do help parents and teachers navigate the realities of what parenting is today. But don't get it wrong. When you work with me, we put the child's needs first. So we're going to have to put our ego and pride aside, and let's get to it. Hello, 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 and welcome to the Talk to Danielle podcast. I am your host, Danielle C Baker. And before we get started, be sure to like, follow, and subscribe to whichever channel you're listening or watching from. And of course, this is season 4. So I do invite you to have a look at the 3 previous seasons. They may be a topic there that resonates with your reality today. These episodes are timeless. So I do invite you to have a look at those. And we're going to jump right in today because I know the seems to be really big. And I always talk about how there's no magic formula. So, what is this one habit that can change how we parent or how we show up in life in general? Because I always relate everything to everything in your life. And so I'm going to tell you right away, it has nothing to do with journaling for an hour or to pick up on the new therapy language. And it sure as hell has nothing to do with overanalyzing, because as a people, we have managed to overanalyze what overanalyzing is. So we need to let that go. And really, all it is as simple as it is. It's not what you think. It has nothing to do with adding more. It really is just to notice what's going on inside of you. It's kind of anticlimactic, isn't it? But it's all it is. What is happening inside of you? And this is what self-awareness is. Now, I know I may lose some of you on this, but bear with me because that is what we're missing when it comes to stacking on new habits to become better versions of ourselves. We're missing the part that allows it to stick together. So, in this episode, we're going to be talking about why stacking new habits fails. I've done this before. Well, just add a habit to a habit you already have down. And next thing you know, you have 10 things to do before you even step out the door in the morning. And as a parent, you know that that's a reality. You start the first 2 habits, and then a spill happens, a meltdown happens. You're rushing for work. The alarm didn't go off. Whatever it is, you're looking for a sock. Forget the rest of the habits. It's just not going to happen today. So I'm going to explain why stacking, I kind of did already, but I'm still going to explain why stacking fails, uh, why awareness changes everything. And I'm also going to give you some practices that you do daily that doesn't add to what you're already doing so that you can start implementing this to make things so much easier for you. So jumping right in, and why adding new habits just doesn't work. As I mentioned earlier, is with this approach, we all know we've been told if you want to add a new habit, just add it to a habit you already have down packed. So it's already part of your routine. You're just adding a little extra, and that will help you stick to the habit. But the problem is we're just adding on to more stuff that we need to do in the day. So that's why it doesn't work. And as I mentioned before, something will happen as a parent. You have all of the best intentions, but life happens, and you're not going to be able to complete your long list of to do new habits to go along. So this is why it doesn't work. I'm going to use kayaking as an analogy for what I'm about to explain, just to give you a visual of it. So if you think of behaviors go downstream. Once you have them packed, they almost become subconscious, and you just do them. It's really easy. You just go with the flow, and you do sometimes you do your your behaviors without even noticing, right? We have behaviors that we're not even conscious of it. And so it's very easy. Now, habits are surface level. So you could think of habits as your kayak. It will wobble quite a bit depending on what the water is throwing at you. And your emotional state is upstream. So your nervous system that is fighting for you, is trying to keep you safe, alive, and out of pain is working upstream. It has everything going against it. So it won't be able to catch up to your behaviors. So if your nervous system feels threatened, if your nervous system feels exhausted, like it has too much, it's going to override your habits. So you have all of the best intentions to pick up a new habit. But if your nervous system is not regulated, if it's not, an easy current that you're going through in life, yeah, it's just going to override your habits. So I'll give you an example. If you have a parent, as a parent, you decide that you're going to be patient with your child or that you're going to try gentle parenting. All right, this is the new habit that you want to do. You don't want to yell anymore. You want to be more patient with your child. All it's going to take is for your child to have one meltdown and the tone shifts instantly. It just, you snap right back to you yelling and threatening and everything else that you are used to doing. And that's just because your nervous system is not calm. Your nervous system is in reactive mode. So you have the best intentions to be more patient with your child, to stop yelling when they trigger you. But it just takes that one time when you're overloaded already and you'll snap right back to your old habits. And there's nothing wrong with that. That's perfectly natural. We've all done it. We've all snapped. And as we can't rise or grow or evolve with great intentions alone, if we're not regulated, everything falls back to old behaviors. It's going to keep going downstream. Your kayak is just going to flow down because it's easier that way. So this is what we have to work on. And that's why self-awareness is so important. And I know some of you are disappointed, but we need to put the work in ourselves. The work has to be internal so that it can radiate out with great habits and we can finally show up the way we want to as a parent, as a partner, as a coworker, everywhere else in your life. The other reason why stacking new habits doesn't work is because the productivity culture ignores emotions. So the portrait that they give you or the systems that they put in place just automatically assumes that your nervous system is fine, that you are completely regulated. And that's not the case. And the reason why it gets even harder is that we're often dysregulated without even noticing it. We're so much into it. We're running downstream so fast that we don't even realize that we are dysregulated. So how are you supposed to succeed when your nervous system is already all out of whack? We can't build a solid new habit on top of a dysregulated nervous system because now you're just building on quicksand and your foundation's not going to stick. So that works not just with your parenting, but again, across every aspect of your life. If you're dysregulated in your relationships, you're not going to be able to show up as a better partner. If you are, try to take on, I'll listen better, I'll be less reactive, it's not going to work if you're already in reactive mode. It's the same as a business leader or a coworker, even when you're at work. If you're dysregulated for whatever reason, you're not going to be able to take on new responsibilities or show up differently to be more productive at work. It just doesn't work. Your body's completely shut down. So that is why just adding more to our already stressed out nervous system is not going to work. So the one habit that is going to change parenting is self-awareness. And I know there's a lot of parents right now that are rolling their eyes. They're just like, yeah, okay, whatever. But you're going to have to hear me out here. It's not what you think. The actual definition of self-awareness is to pause long enough to notice what's happening inside of you before you act or before you react. That's all it is. It's a pause to realize, okay, how am I handling this right now? How am I receiving this? And then give you time to settle down before you blow up. That's what self-awareness is. So, like I was saying earlier, it's not about learning new therapy language. We're done with that. We've overdone that. It is just as simple as saying, oh, hold on, I noticed something. We need to be aware of it for us to fix it. And this is what it'll look like. The first thing you're going to do is notice it in your body. And that's the one that we ignore the most. Notice how the situation is sitting in your body. What is being triggered? Do you have a tight jaw? Is it starting to get warm in here, right? Do you have a shallow breath? Do you have the urge to control or correct? Right? These are all signs that your body is screaming at you right now that something's off and we're not listening to it. So, my question to you is, do you know how to listen to your body? Can you speak your body's language? That's a tough one because we're definitely not taught this, but you really do have to learn how your body speaks for different situations because sometimes your body will react differently from different situations. So the first thing is to notice it in your body. That's the first step of self-awareness. The second one is to name the emotion. And that's a tough one because many of us don't even know how to recognize these emotions anymore. If you're really high stress, if your nervous system is hanging on by a thread, because we're talking about long-term dysregulated nervous systems. Our nervous system is designed to go out of whack for a few seconds to keep us safe from a saber-toothed tiger. It's not supposed to last years. So we need to be able to connect an emotion, and we can't do that when we're dysregulated. So you need to start asking yourself, okay, I've noticed it in my body now. So what am I feeling? Some of us are completely numb now. So what am I feeling? Am I overwhelmed? Am I frustrated? Am I embarrassed? Do I feel disrespected? Do I feel unseen? These are some major, major ones that affect us as adults. I do invite you to, if you need to, if you search on the internet a list of different emotions, you can get a really good list to help you if you've completely disconnected from emotions. It is necessary sometimes. So once you noticed it in your body related to an emotion, this is how you're going to start speaking to your nervous system to say, okay, I feel tight in the jaw because I'm frustrated because I feel unseen right now or unheard. That's a really good start. And that's your pause. What I want you to do here, we're keeping it as simple. I told you earlier, you do not want to overanalyze why you feel a certain way. We're not there yet. I just want you to say, okay, I just made a fist for some reason. And I just realized now I'm feeling really frustrated. That's it. That's it. You don't need to go into psychoanalysis here. We don't want that. That's going to jack up your nervous system again. So, again, very simple. Notice it in your body. Name the emotion. That's it. Just for now. That's it. The last thing you do after all that is normalize it. Start saying to yourself, now that you understand why you're reacting, say, okay, of course I'm going to feel like this, or this makes sense, or my body is trying to protect me right now. These are things you need to start recognizing. Naming the emotion reduces the activation of your caveman brain that I call that reactive mode, that survival mode, protecting you from a saber-toothed tiger. So if you're naming your emotion and normalizing it, say, yeah, that is a legit emotion to what I'm going through right now. Your body is going to start relaxing a little bit. So you're going to be able to receive a little bit more information. Once you are aware of what's happening inside of you, this awareness now creates a choice. At that point, this happens in a fraction of a second, but at that point, you can make the choice of saying, I'm just going to snap like I always do. I'm going to go reactive, or I'm going to pause and respond appropriately without getting my emotions involved in this. At this point, it is a choice. You, at this point, when you are self-aware, get to choose how you truly want to show up to your loved ones, to your coworkers, to your children. So that's the habit you want to work on. Regulation becomes possible instead of saying, well, that's just the way that I am, or that I was provoked into this. Now it's become, I notice how my body responds to what is perceived as a threat. I am able to take control of myself. And that changes everything. It is a muscle. We're not used to doing that. So you do need to practice it. It will take time, and the pause may be quite a long. But if you're still very reactive, it does take time. Even if you stop for 10 seconds before you react, before you lash out, 10 seconds doesn't feel that long. I should rephrase that. 10 seconds isn't that long. It will feel very long, but just to stop and say, okay, where is this in my body right now? What emotion is that related to? And said, okay, yeah, okay, that makes sense, but I'm not in danger right now, so I should calm down. It will help you a lot. You could take longer if you need to, especially when you're working with children. Allow yourself to take 30 seconds. Allow yourself to take a minute. It doesn't matter as long as you come back to it after you're regulated and it's okay. I am calm now, so I will address this now. You are allowed to do that. We're taught to be reactive. We need to give answers right away. We need to act right away. But sometimes pausing is the action you need to take right away. So it does really help. And just remember that you can't shift something in you if you don't even notice it. You can't change a bad habit if you're not even aware that you have it. So take that time, pause, don't overanalyze, just pause. How am I feeling it in my body? What emotion is that? And yes, it's validated. You're the only one who can validate your emotions. Other people won't understand, and that's how we get frustrated even more, actually. But just remember, you can't change something that you're not aware you're doing or why you're doing it. So that's where the habit is a game changer. So, how does this change parenting? Right? I've given some examples already, but I'll give you some really common ones where your child refuses to listen. This is a very common trigger point for parents. So, if you're not self-aware of how you react to when your child does not listen, you will automatically, immediately want to try to control or correct. So when it comes to discipline, yelling, all of that, threatening, blackmailing, everything that you do as a parent when your child doesn't listen, this is what's going to happen. You're going to escalate and you're going to fall into a power struggle. I'm the adult. You should be listening to me because I said so. Blah, 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 blah. All of the classics, right? That's what we grew up on. But that's what happens when you're not self-aware, when you haven't taken the time to regulate yourself. Those are the reactions that will happen. So you're not really showing up the way you want to for your child, but that's just because you're in reactive mode. Now, if you are aware, so when you're working with awareness, you will notice first that you feel triggered, right? That's the pause. So your child doesn't listen. You notice right away that you feel triggered. You tensed up. Your shoulders went up. Your jaw, you're just like slowly imploding. That will be your sign. You take a deep breath. You recognize it. You're like, oh, okay. And automatically your tone will soften. That breath is magical. You take a deep breath and then you can calm down. You're not going to be yelling. You may be firm, but you're not going to be yelling and screaming. And correction will still happen, but it will be done calmly. So this is where the misconception is with gentle parenting. A lot of people associate gentle parenting to just letting the child do whatever they want and get away with everything and not taking accountability. It's just a big free for all. And that's not it at all. Gentle parenting is being aware of what triggers you. So this is important to say. With gentle parenting, there's still going to be correction. There's still going to be consequences. You're just not going to be throwing a tantrum while you're doing it as a parent. That's the difference. So there will still be correction. There will still be consequences. You will just be cool and calm about it as opposed to being frantic. That's the difference here. And that's where a lot of people don't understand gentle parenting. So when I say that correction still happens in this case, instead of disciplining, if you're into spanking, yelling, punishing, everything that you do, now we're turning to, in terms of correction, you're still going to set those boundaries. You're still going to explain your child why that behavior is inappropriate and not acceptable in this house. You're still leading. It's not a power struggle. You are calm, you are responsive, and you're able to hear your child out, but you're still the leader and you're showing the example of what it's like to be a leader. And you're not reacting from a threat. That's also so important, that you're not threatening your child, you're not dysregulating your child in trying to cope with your triggers. And that's very important. So this is where correction will happen, whatever that looks like. You make it clear to your children what those boundaries are, what line they crossed, and but you're handling it calmly without threatening, without terrorizing them at times. That's the difference. And it does work. That's why it changes everything in your parenting. Children are definitely more receptive to a calm parent when they're being explained why they crossed the line, as opposed to just being yelled at for crossing a line that they don't know what they've crossed yet. I'll give you another example that can trigger parents a lot, is if your teen rolls their eyes. Right? That can set us off a little bit. So when you are self-aware, when we're leading with awareness, the shift is going to happen that you're going to notice the emotion here could be embarrassment. It's one of the major ones for eye rolling. You're going to notice your urge to assert dominance, right? If your teen is rolling their eyes at you, it's going to trigger you and you're going to show them who's boss, right? I'm the parent. You don't respect me like that. That's dominance. You're trying to assert your dominance. So you're going to notice that you have this urge. You're going to feel it in your body and you're going to respond instead of reacting. So now you're going to be able to take it without snapping at your teen to give them more reasons to roll their eyes at you. You're going to be able to handle the situation calmly and explain to them why eye rolling could be a trigger for you. They might not care, but at least you're being calm about it. Just remember that children co-regulate. They piggyback off of your nervous system. So if you lose control of your nervous system, you're teaching your child how to behave that way. Your child will follow your lead. So it's very important. That's why this habit is the most important one, is because in the process, when your correction becomes setting boundaries and explaining why things are done a certain way with you, you're teaching them how to do that when they're adults. They're going to be able to set healthy boundaries. They're going to be able to respond instead of react, and they're going to set some really strong relationships in their lives because of what you showed them. But if you lose control every single time, if you have your own meltdowns and breakdowns, that's what you're teaching your child. And so you're not doing them as any service at all. One thing of why self-awareness is so important is because your awareness is what's going to stabilize the room. As a parent, that's the power that you have with your children, with your family. Your self-awareness will stabilize the room without adding more work to what you're already doing. So it does help in the end. Now, this works in every area of your life. So this same technique will work for meetings so that you are less reactive with your comments. It will work in conflicts where now you're leading with curiosity instead of being on the defensive. It will work in your marriage where you can pause before everything else escalates. And also with your self-talk, you will not shame spiral as much if you're able to pause and notice where all of that self-talk is coming from. So it does help everywhere, and it really helps you to be a true leader in every way in your life. So to get you started in working that new muscle, that new habit, I will give you some homework and have you work on what I call the three pause practice. The daily practice is three pause. And it really is all about the pause. If you're able to stop yourself before you react, you're already ahead of yourself. So, three times a day, in the morning, midday, and in the evening, you're going to take 30 seconds. And it doesn't matter what you're going through at that moment. You're going to stop and say, what am I feeling? Where do I feel it in my body? And what does my body need right now? That's it. No extra work there. Just take those 30 seconds. It could only take you 10 seconds if you're able to identify that emotion quickly. But what am I feeling? Where do I feel it in my body? And what does my body need right now? Maybe your body just needs a deep breath, maybe a little bit of water, maybe a little walk or something, move around a bit. That's all it is. There's no journaling involved, no accountability group to have to answer to unless you really want to. It really is just a little bit of reflection to see what's going on inside of you. That's all you need. Now, I didn't mention earlier that this is also this technique of this new habit is going to teach your child how to do it. And this is all, that's what parenting is all about. You need to be teaching your children how to do this. They don't come regulated, they don't know how to do it. They co regulate with you. Like I mentioned earlier, they piggyback off of your nervous system. So do this by modeling it out loud. We'll just say, I feel frustrated right now. I need to take a breath. And I know that's going to sound really weird, but you are teaching your child something. I'm really frustrated right now. I need to take a breath. You're teaching them how to pause and you're teaching them something. This is no different than constantly singing head and shoulders, knees and toes. You're teaching them something there too. It's the same. It's just that this is something that is going to be way more important to them when they grow as adults. So model it, live it out loud. Now, when your child is going through it, you also have to teach them how to handle it. You got to teach them how that looks for them inside. So ask them, where do you feel that? Kids are very in tune with their bodies. So just say, where do you feel it? Do you feel heat in your face? You're tense. Give them the words that they need. Teach them those words. So the first thing is, okay, how does that feel? Where do you feel it in your body? Is your body tight or loose? That's something that you can ask them if they can't tell you where they feel it in our body. So does it feel tight or loose right now? That will help them a lot to loosen up. If they are tight, they will automatically loosen up if you say the word loose. And the last thing that you can say is, let's slow our breaths together and breathe with them. The breath is magical for adults and for children. So by teaching them that, you're helping them to self-regulate. They're going to be able to work that muscle so that they're able to do it later on as well. Now, the thing that is really, really important here is to do it when things are calm. You don't do this when they're in a full-blown meltdown, right? If your child is throwing chairs around the room, you're not going to go at eye level to them and say, how does that feel in your body? Do you feel tight or do you feel loose? That's aggravating. You don't do that. You let the storm pass. And then after that, it's okay. Clearly, something bothered you here. How did that feel in your body? Where did you feel it in your body? How do you feel now? Let's breathe together. Let's work on another solution to how we can handle this better next time. You're validating their emotion. You're still setting that boundary to say this was not acceptable. There's a better way to do it. Let me show you how to do it. It's your job as a parent to teach your child the alternative way to do it. So that's what we want to work on. But never, never when they're in full blown meltdown. That's not going to end well for you. Children don't learn about emotional regulation through lectures. They learn by watching how you handle it. So that's why the self-awareness is so important. How do you react to things that stress you out? How do you react to things you don't understand? How do you react to things that you don't know? That's exactly what you're teaching your child. So keep that in mind. And don't forget too that you don't need to add more to your to-do list. You don't need a new planner, right? You just need awareness. So if there is one thing you can practice this year is noticing yourself, and everything else is going to grow from there. It is that easy. You don't have to push it further than that. So I will leave you with that. If you needed more information, if you have questions, don't hesitate to contact me. I am a real person. And don't forget to like, follow, and subscribe to whichever channel you're listening or watching from. And until next time, stay safe, stay awesome, and we'll talk soon.